I thank you for having me on. Good evening, sir. I have a question regarding exposure, whereby I don't know whether some things are worth observing or looking. I can't hear a thing. I don't know if I'm...
What don't you understand about exposure?
Okay. There are times when I'm having maybe a habit or a situation I'm going through, and I tend to ask myself, sometimes the opportunity arises whether to completely ignore this thing that keeps arising, or whether to observe it carefully in order to get over it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, that isn't what I mean. You can interpret it however you want. That's everyone's own freedom to do so. But that isn't what I'm talking about with exposure. With exposure, for me, it's exposure with truth.
Okay. The truth about, let's say, a bad habit, or let's say you have a situation that keeps arising that I expose myself to work.
But you threw it with the truth there like it was a rotten apple. You just threw the word truth in that statement like it was a pair of used shoelaces. Okay, that wasn't the truth. Wasn't the center stage of that comment. That was just tossed in there. You don't know the truth behind your habit. So how are you going to expose yourself to the truth?
Okay. I expose myself to your work, for instance, for a long time. I've been consuming your work, and then there are things that have been in my life that have not been, let's say, to my benefit. And when they come up, when they arise, I ask myself whether to observe them more carefully or whether to just look at where I'm like, I ask myself whether I can just go through them, like ignore them. I don't know if that is.
But those are, and that's fine. But though you're talking about two different things, that isn't. Once again, you don't need to take my lead or anything, but you're asking me the question, so I have to answer according to me. That is not what I am talking about when it comes to exposure. And the reason that I'm talking about exposure is because that is the original question that you asked was related to exposure. To me, when I speak of exposure, I'm talking about the human being is constantly exposed to the world. And the human being is constantly exposed to the world, therefore he's constantly exposed to lies. And therefore he becomes a lie. And he doesn't become that because he wants to, but he has no choice. So wisdom lies in exposing oneself to the truth, not to follow something or to do, 5 steps or to do none of that garbage. I don't have any respect for any of that stuff. I'm simply talking about exposure. You didn't do you did consciously, even though you've done a lot of stuff, the way that you are, the things that you believe, the things that you think, those are not the product of you having done a bunch of stuff. Those are the product of your exposure. And because your exposure, not just you, but all humans, is to lies, not intentional lies, but lies nonetheless, then you have no choice but to become that, and you don't have to try to become that. That's what you're exposed to. Whereas if you expose yourself to the truth, in all honesty, if you expose yourself to the truth 1% of the time, and 99% of the time you expose yourself to the world, there's not even a competition there. Now, the only thing that can be said about that is fine. 1% is better than 0%. So yes, you can. So that is true.
Okay. May I just when my mind then when my mind brings up things that I've been consuming your work, let's say sometimes a lot, and my mind brings up things that give me that opportunity to decide. I don't know if does it just flow into perfect.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Number one, I don't know. Number two, I don't care, because the mechanistic details of how these things happen are beyond the intellect. This very small, shamelessly small intellect of human beings. So don't even try. And the more you try, the more you'll go deeper into the intellect. This is not a mechanical thing. So I have no idea what routes it takes and what X, Y, and Z happens, and what the technical details. Even to open that door is to open that door to confusion.